Ryan Little.
What's up, y'all? I'm here today to talk about Nick Cannon's recent pro-black shenanigans. So I'm gonna give you a rundown. Ooh, my hair needs trimming. I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk about random other stuff while I'm talking about other stuff on YouTube. Okay, starting over now. I am here today to talk about Nick Cannon's recent pro-black shenanigans. I'll give you the rundown on what happened, and then I'll give my take on how I feel about this situation, because, y'all asked. Okay, so for those of you who have been living in a doomsday cult for the last 20 years and you don't know who Nick Cannon is, you somehow escaped, found a computer, learned how to work it, got on YouTube and found this video, I will tell you who Nick Cannon is right now. Nick Cannon, born Nicholas Scott Cannon, October 8, 1980, is a colorist media personality who has been in show business for the majority of his life. Nick Cannon has worked extensively under Viacom, which houses the likes of MTV and Nickelodeon. He's done stand-up, he's rapped, he's been in movies, he was in all that at Nickelodeon from a young age, I think teenager or even pre-teenager. He has been in this industry, knows the ins and outs. He's been director, host, producer, just everything you can possibly think of. He has been a part of it. Creative director, executive producer. He's done several award shows. He's worked for NBC, America's Next Top Model. He's just done it all. When I looked up his information on Wikipedia, it was insane. I never knew he had done so many things in his life. He's actually really accomplished. He's worth $60 million according to the Sun UK. So he has it going on, despite, my thinking he's something else at this point. Did I mention he was married to Mariah Carey and had her children? Yeah, so that's a thing. And I just wanted to mention already that Mariah Carey is half white. Yeah, that'll be important later. Perhaps most notably, he has been working for, I believe, 15 years, since 2005, as the host of MTV's Wildin' Out. It's some kind of freestyle show. I'm gonna be honest, I have never seen an entire episode. I have watched clips of it. I've watched Azealia Banks cry on it, stating that everybody's colorist there and they were making fun of her, but who knows what happened. I'm usually on AB's side, but that was the one situation where I was like, what are you doing? But I digress. So now we're going to talk about what just happened with Mr. Cannon. Basically, he ragged on Semites and white people in general, and he got in a lot of trouble for it, sort of. So I'm not going to get into the details of the anti-Semitic comments, the specifically anti-Semitic comments, because as of right now, he apologized for them, and as of right now, at least one group, Fox, has forgiven him for doing this. We'll get into more of that later. But since he has already apologized for it, I don't really want to get into it. I'm just going to get into the main points that he did not apologize for yet, or kind of doubled down on, or the apology wasn't sufficient enough. And those are the anti-white, black supremacist comments. Now, to understand the context of how Nick Cannon got on the subject of, black supremacist, anti-white sentiments, Nick Cannon has a podcast. On this podcast, he was interviewing Professor Griff. Professor Griff is a former, maybe still current member. At one point, he was a member of the hip-hop band Public Enemy. This was in the late 80s, early 90s. On this podcast, Professor Griff was explaining how he basically got blacklisted from Hollywood due to anti-Semitic comments, which he claimed were not anti-Semitic, and he explains why he thinks that. So Professor Griff basically goes on a pretty long and detailed explanation of how he was blacklisted and why he thinks that he shouldn't have been blacklisted, and then how he discovered all of this information, which is the information that he uses on his current PowerPoint presentations and lectures to let people know these discoveries he found. Discoveries including that he thinks that, he's really a Hebrew, and, certain groups sold their birthright to whom, I'm not sure, and then took his place. So around minute 15 of this interview, they go on a whole rant kind of like about the Illuminati, and they accuse these corporate companies of being like evil or fake or something like this. This media that they've both worked for ages, had no problem making money in for years, especially Nick Cannon, damn near 20 years. He seems to have never realized this until today or the day before, this podcast. It's very strange to me, because to me it's like, well, we'll get into what I feel about it later. So yeah, so this is like from minute 12 to damn minute 40. So guys, they go on and on and on about all kinds of esoteric stuff, all kinds of numerology, damn Chaldean magic. They really take it there and just stay there for a while. So I'm not even gonna read all of the controversial jargon and sentiments that were spoken. I'm just gonna read some of the main ones, the ones that have been focused on more or less, I guess the worst ones. I'm gonna post a link to the transcript. Thank you to rev.com. They did a really good job with it, and that's what I'm gonna be reading from. Okay, minute 48-46. Canon. When you'd have a person that has a lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got that power, they have the lack of compassion that ... Melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul that we call it. We're soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm going to say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, to where they may not have the compassion, or when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. Minute 49-38. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, kill, and fight. Professor Griff, fight or flight, okay. Nick Cannon, minute 50. So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people. They, as in white people, had to be savages. They had to be barbaric because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments, so they're acting as animals. Griff, right? Cannon, minute 50-20. So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up this, I don't want to say warrior, but that's giving too much credit. But they built up this conquering barbaric mentality that they're coming out of Europe. Then they said, in order for us to survive, we have to take what's not ours. And then they went into the land that actually where we are originated. And instead of trying to make friends, they said, we want what you got. Because there's this mentality of whether it's the Caesars or even that, we have to conquer. Griff's like, right. Oh my God. So after Nick Cannon says these words, these anti-Semitic, anti-white words, Viacom is like, can you apologize for this? Because we're paying you to do a job, and it's like not this at all. As a response, Nick Cannon writes a very lengthy post on Facebook titled Truth and Reconciliation. I'll give you some highlights. He says that he's upset that a moment that could lead to reconciliation and understanding was used to make an example of an outspoken black man. I am deeply saddened in a moment so close to reconciliation that the powers that be misuse an important moment for us to all grow closer together and learn more about one another. Instead, the moment was stolen and hijacked to make an example of an outspoken black man. He claims that Viacom, CBS had pulled advertising that supported George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I think this is a very interesting thing that he adds into this, because this has, technically not much to do with Viacom's proposal. It has nothing to do with the subject matter that he, is mentioning. It is about race in a way, but it's just kind of far-fetched if you were doing this for no other reason but because you have discovered this valuable information for all melanated people. That's all I'll say about that for now. So, in the end, as of right now, Fox forgave him for his anti-Semitic comments. Nobody else seemed to really ask him to apologize for the anti-white comments, and so he hasn't. And he's going to stay on at The Masked Singer as a host, but he has been fired from Wild 'N Out, this 15-year, show that has employed countless people. Has probably employed an entire team right now. Okay, now here comes the part of the video where I say what I think about it and hopefully close this laptop for the last time. Okay, so Do I think that Viacom, which I just learned is actually Viacom CBS now because these companies just keep getting bigger together? Yes, I think he should have been fired. Do I think he should have been fired from The Masked Singer on Fox? Yes, I think he should have. I think it's crazy that he hasn't, and that the only reason why he hasn't been fired is because of the political climate today. Here is why I think he should have been fired from these places. My moral standing is such that, let's say I worked at Costco, and I worked at Costco for 20 years. They have, promoted me many times. They've done, I've made a lot of money with Costco. I have been able to raise a family with this Costco employee money. I've had great health insurance, all these kind of things. But I go online, watch a YouTube video, and I hear that, my regional manager is a jerk or something, or is racist, or not a nice person. And this inspires me to go on, go into a Costco store, get on the loudspeaker and say, my manager is a piece of crap and I hate him very much and he's an evil person and the whole company is evil and this is why. What do you think would happen to me? What do you think would be the result of my actions? Do you think I'd be able to keep my job? Do you think I'd be able to keep half of my job? I would not be able to do that. I would be fired immediately and probably escorted away by security or, local police. That is what would happen to the average person in the Black community. Probably in the white community too, for saying these types of things. People like Roseanne, who said one thing about one person, got fired while her show was running and she was the star of her show, of her, new version of Roseanne. The show, I think, was called Roseanne, and they fired her anyway. I understand she's a white woman, she's at a place of higher privilege, but is Nick Cannon really that underprivileged? I believe his privilege surpasses most, all Black people who are not in his position, who are not, worth $60 million. His privilege surpasses many white people's privilege that he can even do this type of thing. He was literally able to say things that were extremely insulting to a group of people who are the managers of the platforms that he's using to say these things. And he didn't even get in trouble with one of them. And he didn't immediately get in trouble with one of them. They asked for him to apologize fully. And he clapped back and made himself the victim. That is a really high place of privilege. So who is he really to talk about struggle and, what's what? The other thing is, if he was so adamant that these people are of a lesser race and they're more savage, why is he married to a half savage? Why did he choose to procreate 2 children with savage blood? It doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to say these things, why are you, have been accused of being colorist when you're looking for features that are more of this savage race? I even have personal reasons for why I think he should be fired. If a non-person of color went out and said the same thing about Black people, said that I'm of a lesser race and I'm more savage because I was living in some jungle somewhere and, stole their birthright and I'm just here trying to make it and, exist in this world without suffering too much. Every time I saw this person, whether I watched TV or not, if they were so omnipresent in media, that would agitate me. That would truly agitate me. Like, how is this person still talking? How do they still have a platform after they said these things? He's been eating out the devil's pot for over 20 years. What makes him so much better than the devil himself? It's just not adding up to me. I've seen some people make excuses like, well, he's just waking up or whatever. How has he been asleep for so long? He's been in the middle of this bed for 20 years. I will excuse the time when he was a child, but don't tell me he has never come across any information from firsthand experience on how this system works. When, like I said, I've heard this stuff that I wasn't even looking for since 2010, 2012. It just doesn't make sense to me. It seems like the only reason why he's even done this is because of the current climate, and I feel like he's using it to, just to get clout, basically. I personally do not think this is a coincidence, and now I'm going to say my overall belief, I should say. I would not be surprised. I would not put it past any A-list Hollywood person to not have done any act that hasn't already been planned and pre-planned by these same people he's talking about, these same enemies of the melanated people. You know, I forgot to mention a lot of this information is wrong too, but I won't even get into that because that's gonna have all kinds of pro-black type people telling me I don't know anything, I'm a coon, and all this kind of stuff. You know, I'm not a freaking coon. It's like I'm just a realist. This is the truth. You know, it's. So yeah, overall, I feel like this is more like bandwagon virtue signaling for the current pro-black climate, the current climate of division. I feel like this was just done pretty much on purpose to agitate white people. You know, I feel like the media is constantly focused on agitating one end of the spectrum. First, they want people polarized. So there are people all the way over here and all the way over here, and they want as few people who are just moderate, who are just stable, who are just, you know, have one solid mind that works, that functions together. I feel like the media makes more money when our minds are compartmentalized and at extreme emotional opposites. So they're always attacking one group and then putting favor on another. Right now, the pendulum has swung from, 2014 when all these people were getting off and the media actually kind of leaned somewhat to the side of the police. Right now, the pendulum has swung and it's, no matter what the, original suspect or the person who was murdered in this, these current white cop versus black male situations, no matter what the black male has done, no matter if he's a criminal, no matter if he ran and attacked the police, like, he's going to be the victim at all times, and the cop is going to be the bad guy at all times right now. Like I said, 6 years ago, it was not really like that. So it's just like, I just feel like this is all done on purpose. It's done to just agitate one group and then to make one group feel like they have the upper hand. So I just feel like if we keep things imbalanced, whether one person has the upper hand, it's not going to be fun because the next time you will not. I don't want temporary relief. I don't want temporary upper hand. I want to always exist peacefully and coexist with people. This just continues to create stress. Other reason why I feel like this is unsuccessful and was stupid is because this helped literally nobody. The information is not really been proven, the information, even if it had been, let's say the information was all proven, he was 100% right on everything he said about white people and Jews, it still does not help anybody. Who did this help? What black person is now better off from what he said? I can't think of one. This only leads to, pro-black being more white hate focused than just actually being pro-black. It's always based on like what whitey is doing over here. And I feel like that's not helpful at all. It's just like focusing on somebody else to make yourself feel better. Focusing on somebody else and putting them down to make yourself feel better. It's saying, instead of like looking at the immediate problems in our community, let's go all the way outside our community to these, abstract things like, white people came from a mountainside and that's why they suck. Just these crazy things that really, for right now, today, have never helped me. Like I said, I've been hearing, what's his name? Anthony Brian Logan, another YouTuber. He said that he's been hearing this information for about as long as Nick Cannon's been in the entertainment industry. This, like, what is that? Malachi Hebrew Israelite information. And it really has not helped any black people, as far as I can tell. Not in a mass scale, that's for sure. So, the information that has been most helpful to me when it comes to conspiracy theories and learning about, true humans and true human nature is basically you need to do well for yourself and well for your family and then well for your environment first, before you branch all the way out to the top of the damn pyramid where there are these 13 bloodlines and all this stuff. It's like, are you right in your mind? Are you right in your spirit and body? No? Okay, start there. Help your family, help your close friends. So those are things that should be focused on that these celebrities never mention. They always want to go to the most attention, clout-seeking, controversial thing, and it just doesn't benefit anybody. It also didn't benefit all the people who lost their jobs at Wild 'N Out during a pandemic. Did he think about that? He clearly did not think about his folks at Wild 'N Out. All the people that he hired, all the black people that he hired, and who are depending on their rent or their mortgages, on this company, on Wild 'N Out show. So why didn't he think about them? You know, are they really that unimportant? Was he really doing something for the greater good? I just broke down, you know, the notion that it did not help the greater good. So did it help his immediate circle? No, it harmed them. You know, this is a pandemic, and now these people are out of a job suddenly, not planned. I hope in a way this was planned out, because this at least puts me at peace of mind. Like, maybe they had a backup, maybe they're going to be, you know, the employees are going to be fed into another company because they anticipated this happening and they had to do a public firing. I don't know though, you know. It just seems like a lot of these black celebrities are fake woke and just talking recklessly because they can. Nick Cannon has the money to never work again. Nick Cannon has a second hosting gig at Fox, you know? So it's like, he's fine, he's gonna be fine. Not anybody else is fine. He was fine before he said this, and he'll be fine after he said this. But it did hurt a lot of black people. It hurt a lot of white people, you know, who are just like fans of Nick Cannon, and then he's saying these horrible things to them. Just think about how black people feel when their fave says something racist, or they dig up some old tweet. You know, it doesn't feel good at all. You feel duped, you feel scammed, and you feel agitated. That's how I felt before, you know, when I found out some person that, you know, whose music I bought or something like that turned out to be, you know, not a good person, racist, whatever. So it really makes me think, what do celebrity pro-blacks want out of being pro-black? You know, do they want equality? Do they want, you know, coexistence? Do they want peace? And if not, why are they continuing to eat out of the pots, biting the hands that feed them all the time? You know, you can't do both. It doesn't make sense. I can't take you seriously if you're here saying all these horrible things after you've done major money, spent 20 years with these people, and then, you know, for you to go say this stuff, I cannot believe you. My mind cannot fix itself to believe you. My mind cannot fix itself to think that you're being genuine about this, because you essentially have almost nothing to lose. Even if you lose everything, you still got a bunch, you know. Whereas everyday people, if they see this and then try to do this at their jobs, they would immediately get fired, and I think rightfully so. So those are my thoughts on this situation. What do y'all think? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Is there more to it? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear it. Love you guys so much. See you next time.